Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Lab, a podcast by PrettyGirlsWork. I'm your host, Lindsay Tompkins, and I go by the pronouns she and her. I've spent almost a decade building my brand to a six-figure business, and I want to show you how to do the same. There's tips and strategies you'll learn along the way, but remember, the real magic is you. Hey, friend, welcome back. I am doing this podcast episode from my bed right now, actually. So I hope the sound is okay. I've never done one in here. My dog is like walking around doing his thing. I actually fell yesterday, slipped on the ice, fell down all my concrete steps, and I have bruises all over my back. My neck hurts, and so I am just honestly like down for the count. So doing this from bed, but you guys are important to me, and I wanted to make sure that I showed up, and this is definitely giving me something to do while I just lay here. All right, so I'm going to stick to these next few episodes talking about Facebook groups, and then we're going to get into branding and then into Instagram. So, I mean, not all of these episodes are going to like build off of one another, because I am going to start bringing guests on and we're going to talk about a variety of different topics. But to make this really valuable for you guys right now, I am building it out like this goes in order. So you're welcome. It's like you're taking a free course. So just make sure that you are listening from the beginning for these ones specifically, even though the first episode is about me as well, to get to know me. There are like some things in there for you to do, and I do talk about branding and kind of like my main secret with branding. So make sure you do start there, because then too you'll learn more about me and decide if you like me or not. Anyways, so today we're going to talk about setting up a Facebook group, and I'm going to go through some of the basics with that. Not even like basics, just like the main things, some of the main things that I want you guys to think about when you're building out a Facebook group. The reason why I wanted to start here is because regardless of where you are in your business, this is a really great thing for you to already have, especially if you do have some customers, if you have been doing business for some time, whether that's like you have 2 customers or 2,000 customers. Okay. So in setting this up, you're able to utilize the current base that you have. And that's what I really want you guys to focus on always, is like really serving the customers and the clients and the followers and, you know, the relationships that you already have. Sometimes we get so hyper focused on growing that we forget about serving and really showing up and supporting the people that have supported our business. It's much easier to sell to a current or past customer than it is to, you know, find and warm up a new one. So I almost said a nude one, like a naked one. Make sure, I mean, it depends on your business, but it's probably better that I guess your customers are clothed. Anyways, new one, N-E-W. That's what I'm trying to say. So a Facebook group can be like, you know, a really, really great thing for you guys to utilize and implement and create right now, to give even your current customers something to do. Like, say it's been a long time, you know, since you followed up or sent a newsletter or an email to them, and you're like, I don't know how to kind of get back into their good graces. Like, I feel like I've kind of ghosted them. Speaking of ghosts, my door is creaking. I don't know what's going on. But if you're feeling that way and you're not really sure about like how to reestablish that connection, setting up a Facebook group and inviting them to that is really easy, because it's not just asking for a sale. It's like, hey, I created this fun space for you, and I've created this like amazing space for us to talk about. Maybe you have a product, for us to talk about the product, and for us to share testimonials and tips and tutorials, and that you guys can get even more, you know, tips from me and like little hacks with the products and all that fun stuff. So it's like really, really like giving value. And if you're going to email that out or send it out on social media, make sure you kind of do that in point form so that it can look like you're like value stacking. So it's like, oh my gosh, look at all the amazing things we're going to do in this group. So that is definitely a way to do that. So here are the 5 things that I want you to think about when you're creating, because hopefully in the last episode, I convinced you why you absolutely need a group. So let's talk about the 5 things that are important for you to know when you're creating one. So number 1, I want you to make it as niche as possible and not so much about you unless you are the draw. Now, what I mean by that is that if you have, for example, grown a following on Instagram and people are really interested in you, like if you already have a pretty well-established brand and people are like, it doesn't matter what you sell or do, like I will follow you regardless. I don't care what you talk about. Like I just want to be around you and people like you. Then having your group a little bit, focused on like who you are can definitely work. Otherwise, if you're kind of new to starting or your name's not super out there, you definitely want to make the group a little bit more like general, more focused on the community around the topic, I would say. So what is the topic? And you do really want to make it as niche as possible because people want to find groups to join on Facebook. People do want to be in communities and people do want to share and show up and learn, but you want to make it super specific for them so that they do show up and so that they want to join and so that they continue to engage. Because the way that the algorithm works is like, say, for example, when you're trying to reach everybody, okay, so you're doing all this different types of content. So you're like, oh, I'm going to talk about this for stay-at-home moms. I'm going to talk about this for busy working moms. I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of retired, the retired age group. I'm going to talk about this for Gen Z. Like if you're trying to hit all these demographics, what happens is, say you pull someone in with like a lead magnet to your social media page and it is specifically for like, let's say millennial moms, and you're like, this is who I'm going for in this post. I want to help millennial moms conquer clutter. Let's just say that's, what your business is. So you're doing these posts and it's pulling in all these millennial moms and they're feeling super seen and heard and like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. When you like really niche down, you can speak directly to them. And we're going to do an episode on your customer avatar. So we'll talk about this. But when you are really focused on one person, you can see all the amazing things that you can offer them. So you can speak directly to them. So say we're talking about clutter and like, you do like cleaning tips and organizational hacks and things like that. So maybe you have like a course that you sell, or like maybe you are like an actual like cleaner and you have like a bunch of cleaners that work for you, or you're just a cleaner by yourself and you're trying to get more people. What you can do is, knowing that they're millennials, you can go, okay, I'm going to create a cleaning Spotify playlist of music. And because I know they're millennials, I'll pull music from like the 90s and early 2000s, like from artists that I know that they'll absolutely love. Like let's throw some Backstreet Boys and TLC and Spice Girls and Britney Spears and Missy Elliott, like all those fun sort of songs that we used to dance to when we went out, or what we grew up listening to. And so you can create things that are really, really specific to them. And the more specific they are, the more that they're going to continue to engage, which tells the algorithm, this is a content and this is a place that this person and people like them are really, really interested in. But let's say, for example, you're just like, I want to talk about conquering clutter for busy people. And let's say you do a post about like millennials and you're bringing those millennial moms in. Perfect. I'm going to do the same thing with Gen Z, or I'm going to do the same thing with the baby boomers. I'm going to create them a Spotify playlist. I'm going to do, all these like extra things that are specific to them. What happens is the other groups that you are not specifically targeting with that content are not going to engage. So for example, you do something for the baby boomers and those millennial moms that you pulled in a week prior are not going to engage. Why? Because the content has nothing to do with them, which triggers the algorithm to say, Brittany or Stephanie is no longer interested in this content. And so they pull you from the newsfeed. They pull you from notifications. They're not going to see your posts as often. And so because you're trying to hit too many demographics, you're really, really watering down your message. So when it comes to a Facebook group, you really want to create it like to be as specific as possible. And when I say like general, so say for example, like this, even right there, you could call the group, I don't know, like cleaning tips for millennial moms, something like, it doesn't have to be anything really crazy. In fact, when people start to get too creative with their name, sometimes it can be really to your detriment, because if somebody's just scrolling through Facebook or they happen to see your group, if they don't know by the title what it is, the likelihood of them joining is going to be low. So if you make it like cleaning tips for millennial moms, if I'm a millennial mom and I'm scrolling through Facebook, or I happen to see your Facebook group because you're promoting it on Instagram or anything like that, it's like, yes, this is exactly what I need. I need cleaning tips. I was just saying that I feel all over the place and I have so much clutter and disorganization in my life, and I'm a millennial mom. And when I see in the description that you offer tips, that you create playlists for like, music playlists and all that fun stuff, I'm like, this is definitely somewhere that I want to be and I want to hang out. But if you just put it like the name of your business and your name, if I don't know your business and I don't know your name, I'm not going to join it. And when you make it like that too, I may think this group may not be for me. It may only be for their current customers or clientele. So that's why it's really important, I believe, to kind of keep your name out of it and your business name out of it. You want to make it really general so people just join. Okay, so that is number one. Make it niche, not so much about you, unless you are the draw. Like I said, if you have a reputable brand already and people like just want to be more in connection with you, like they're looking at it more as, I just want to like connect more personally and intimately with this person, then yes, I'll join the group, and yes, you can put your name in it. Okay, number 2, closed group. You want to make sure that this is closed or private. So there's usually 3 different options. Sometimes they change up the language and it will be public, private or closed, or secret. And you want to make it a closed or private group. Okay, so not open or public, because that means that people can see your content without having to join your group. And we talked about this in the last episode, and I believe even the one before that, around you want to have that value exchange. So you don't want people coming in and being able to just see your content, because otherwise, like, there's no incentive to join. And you're not going to be able to see like what your influence is. You're not going to be able to reach out to that person, say thank you for joining the group, tag them in a post, nothing like that. So you want to make sure that it's closed and they can't see your content. You also don't want it to be secret, because then of course, how would anybody possibly find it? A secret group is only good for things like, I don't know, like say you are creating like a surprise party for somebody, or you have maybe like an internal team or somewhere where like only the people who have this link, I want to join this, I don't want randoms trying to request, then absolutely you can make it secret. But otherwise, if you're wanting people to actively join your group and find your group, you do not want to make it secret. This is why you want to make it closed. People can still find it if it's a closed group or private, but in order for them, like I mentioned, to access that content, they do have to request to join, which is what we want them to do. Plus, if you have that closed group, you can actually set up membership questions that they are encouraged to answer. They don't have to necessarily answer them, but you can decide to not let somebody in if they don't answer them. But you have that capability to set up these different questions. Now, this isn't like skill testing questions. They're not riddles or like, like what is this bed mass, and, answer this math equation, or select how many stop signs you see in this photo. It's nothing like that. It's more about like seeing and finding out more about them. So for example, let's go back to this like millennial mom conquer the clutter sort of group that you have going on. So some of the questions that you may want to set up is, number 1, like what is your level of like experience, or where do you feel like your expertise is when it comes to cleaning and organizing your home? 1 being like, I have no cleaning or organizational skills at all, and 5 being, I'm Marie Kondo. That way, when people are putting the number down, you can see where are people's different skill levels. If everyone's putting 5 that they're Marie Kondo, then you know that people have, a pretty good routine already in place. They have things pretty organized, but if they're still looking for it, they're either looking to show off what they've done to other people. They're looking for like how to up level their tips, and they're looking for bigger projects to tackle and take on, not necessarily the day-to-day cleaning. But if you have everyone putting like 1 or 2 or 3, even 3 is pretty high, but let's say 1, 2, and we'll include 3 for the sake of it, then like, okay, these are people that don't have cleaning schedules. These are people that need to help create better habits, that I need to teach how to organize and clean. So I'm going to start a little bit more basic than people who are putting that 4 and 5. So it'll really tell people a lot about you. Plus, having them put down a number is a really easy answer and doesn't require them to write out an entire paragraph. The easier the answer to the question, the more likely they are to respond to it. But you want to make sure that the questions that you're doing are impactful and are going to tell you something about them and about who they are. You could do another question that does ask them, what room do you absolutely hate cleaning the most? That could be a really easy question. So say you find everybody's putting the bathroom. Well, then you know that most people are looking for content on how to overcome what they hate about the bathroom, or that's probably a place that they're neglecting. So then you could do a Facebook Live on how to start liking cleaning your bathroom, or how to get over hating cleaning the bathroom. Here are my 5 easy tips to get it done faster. It could be teaching them to actually enjoy the process, or to just even learn how to endure it faster. So doing something like how to clean your bathroom faster would definitely appeal to a bunch of people who just told you that they absolutely hate cleaning their bathroom. And then a third question that you could do, I like to keep it around 3, would be asking them for their email so that you could put it on your email newsletter. So this is really important when you're looking at setting up your group. If you're should I do it public, private, or secret? You definitely want to have it as that closed or private group. And that way, as I mentioned, you can set up those questions. Okay, number 3 thing that I want you to think about that's important when you are setting up your group is I want you, once you've set this up, to go into the settings and click the type of group that it is, the category, and I want you to select social learning. The reason why I want you to do this, even if you feel for some reason it doesn't really fit with what you're doing, I want you to select that because with social learning comes a really cool feature in Facebook group called units. So units are, they're essentially what exactly it is. It's a way for you to categorize content in your group into units so that people can go and find them later. So say, for example, again, with this cleaning, you're doing all these different tips, you're doing Facebook Live videos, you're putting in PDFs and checklists, and you're doing Spotify playlists that are all for millennials and music that millennials love. But you want to make it really easy for people to find this content, because when you're posting in your group, it's not going to be chronological. If someone comments on something from even 2 years ago, it will bump that post back up to the top. So things can get a little disorganized in there. And as someone who is teaching organization, well, you want to keep your shit organized. So being able to set those things up into units, you could do start here unit, which is welcome to this group. Here are the first things that I want you to do. Say, for example, you sell products. You could have a unit dedicated to how to take care of your products or how to make your products last longer. If you are creating, let's say, for example, those Spotify playlists, which if you do any sort of cleaning, that is brilliant. I already have some people in mind that I'm going to reach out to and tell immediately after I'm done this episode to do this. But you could do a unit all for your playlist so that people could go there, and you could have different types of playlists. You could be 2000s R&B playlist. You could do Disney sing-along playlist. You could do playlists that are child friendly if they are cleaning with their kids at home and maybe they don't feel super inclined to play 50 Cent while their kids are at home or anything like that. So you could create a bunch of different playlists and then put them under that unit so it's easy for them to find. So when someone does go back to your group, because that's the whole point of the group too, it's not just waiting for you to post content, it's creating all this amazing content and then sorting it into groups so they always have something to engage with and something to go back to. It's not them just waiting to see your content in the newsfeed. You want someone who's going to go, oh, I'm going to go, check in on Ashley's group because I know that she has a bunch of great playlists there. So I'm going to go in there and look through. And it makes it really easy for you too when you're categorizing your posts, because your content becomes so much more evergreen, meaning that people can go back to it over and over again and it's not super time sensitive. That way, if you're ever taking not a break from your business, but a vacation, or you're just taking maybe the weekend off or the week off, or who knows, maybe you're going on vacation for 3 weeks. You don't have to come up with new content for your group. You can just schedule some posts reminding them about all the amazing content that you already have there. Instagram does not work in this way, which is another huge benefit to Facebook groups. So that is a third thing that I want you to do in the settings. Set up that social learning so you can start creating those units. And I would definitely create some in advance before you start letting people in, so they do have something to engage with. And that brings us to number 4, which is you want to make sure that you have a welcome post. So one of the first things I want you to do as well is to create a welcome post. You can do something really fun on Canva. I love doing like the animated posts for this. I don't know why, but it just makes it like really fun and extra splashy and all that sort of stuff. So you want to put a welcome post where you're going to say like, welcome to this group. I'm super excited that you're here. Be sure to read the description. That's another thing that I want you to do, is to set up a description of like what it is that they should expect from this group. You know, like, here's what you can find in this group. Here's what I'm really excited to share. And then you can put at the bottom of the description as well, here are some other things, important things, like here's a link to my website, here's how to follow me on Instagram, and here's how to work with me. So you want to put in that welcome post, like check out the description. You can even copy and paste the description if you want to, if it's not super long. But the main point of this welcome post is you do want people to comment on it and introduce themselves. So be sure to say like, welcome, I'm super excited that you're here. I would love to get to know you better. So introduce yourself below, plus, and then give them a question to answer. So plus, like, give us your, like, I don't know, favorite song to clean to, or your favorite song from the 2000s, or it could be something related to your content, similar to what we did in your membership questions. But again, you want this to be like really fun and easy for them to answer. So don't ask too much of them. Pretty much just introduce themselves, plus like what they want to learn most or what they feel like they're struggling with most. That way too, they can create some camaraderie. So someone can comment on it and be like, ugh, this is exactly what I'm looking to learn too. Or don't worry, you're not alone, because I also hate, doing laundry and I don't know how to manage it, as I'm literally sitting in my bed looking over at this massive pile of laundry in my bedroom, which is probably like the thing I hate doing most. And my washer and dryer just broke. And so that's been a whole other thing. But anyways, you want to do that welcome post because, again, we want people to come in here and start connecting with each other. It's not just them coming in to see our content. They're doing that on Instagram. We want them to become friends with each other. So having them introduce themselves, plus it puts like a lot of the spotlight on them. It's like saying, hey, I care that you're here and you matter. And I want to spotlight you and I want to hear from you. Even in my group, one thing that I just even changed about my welcome post is tell me something that you're really good at, because I'd love to be able to feature people on my podcast. So I have a Facebook group, guys, for this is probably a good time just to talk about it. For this podcast, we talk about social media marketing and branding. It is called The Brand Lab with Lindsay Tompkins. You can find it on Facebook. I believe the URL is facebook.com/group/Lindsay Tompkins, I believe, or it's either groups. But anyways, you could just go in the search bar, type up The Brand Lab with Lindsay Tompkins. There's like over 7,000 people in there because I have had it for a few years. We talk about social media marketing. I'm going to be doing sort of like a relaunch with it. Lots of new content and all that fun stuff, but lots of stuff for you to do in there. But one of the things that I did in there is to say, what is something you're really good at and what is something that you struggle with? Because I want to hear what they're good at, because I prefaced it with, I'm always looking for podcast guests for this literal podcast. And I want to know what they're struggling with, because that is also future topics and episodes for me, so that I'm not sitting there every day going, what should I talk about on the podcast this week? I just want to listen to you guys and give you guys the content. Plus, they're introducing themselves. They're saying what their business is. And so people are able to see, oh, like this is something that I'm interested in, or, oh, I want to also connect with this person. It's about me also facilitating connections among my group, not just me connecting with them. So that is really important. You also want to make sure that you mark that as an announcement so that it stays at the top of your group and is always the first thing. Plus, if you do set up a unit that says start here, you can actually link that post into the unit as the welcome post and the first thing for them to do if they start in the unit. It's before they go over to the discussion feed. So that's really, really important to do. And number 5, I mean, there's obviously so many different steps and things to consider when we're looking at setting up a group, but I do really believe that these 5 are the main things I want you to think about. And that is to start with the boot camper challenge. I think I mentioned this I don't remember. I think it was maybe the last episode. But I talked about like how to really launch your group, and that is with a boot camp or challenge, because then you can get like an influx of interest right away. So say, for example, you set up this group. I want you to email it out to your current and past customers. And I want you to say, hey, I've like created this brand new group. I'm really, really excited. This is what we're going to be doing. You're going to hear tips from me. You're going to get could be podcast episodes, Spotify playlists, checklists, tips, all this fun stuff. Plus, starting on Monday, I am running a 5-day cleaning boot camp challenge where you're going to be able to win X amount of dollars or of services or programs or anything like that. And you don't even have to necessarily do a giveaway, but that can, really like push a lot of people. But saying like, plus we're starting this boot camp or this challenge of how to, we're coming on spring. Maybe you're going to do like a spring cleaning challenge, and it's talking about how to get ready or what to think about going into spring when it comes to decluttering your home. So that's something really fun, and it gives them more of that incentive to join. It's like, I need to join because this is amazing. Plus, there's something timely here. Because if it's just general, then people will be like, oh, I can join at any time. I'll do that later. But if you say, hey, we're starting this on Monday, then they'll want to join right away so that they do not miss out. So starting with that bootcamper challenge also gives you like way more things to talk about on your other social media platforms, like your LinkedIn, on your Instagram, and all that fun stuff. So those are the 5 things. So again, number 1, make it niche and not so much about you. Make it more centered on the topic when you're naming your group. Number 2, have it closed and set up those 3 questions. Number 3, go into your settings, go to the category or type and select social learning so you can set up units. Number 4, create a welcome post. Make sure that you're telling them to read the description, but to really make sure that they introduce themselves below. And then number 5, start with a bootcamper challenge so you can create larger interest up front. I'd love to hear how this is working out for you guys, what you guys thought about this episode, and what your questions are around Facebook groups. And the best way to do that is to actually join my Facebook group, as I mentioned, the Brand Lab with Lindsay Tompkins. Go in there, ask me questions. I'll be able to address you in the group as well as create whole episodes. Plus, if you are someone who's amazing at something when it comes to social media marketing and branding, I also want to hear from you because I'm always looking for guests. So be sure to head there right now to check that out, and I'll see you on the next episode.